thank you for taking the time. And since we only got 50 minutes, let's start.
Cool. Go for it.
Awesome. So first question. So when we talk to our listeners about, what inspired them to get into music, they often name you guys. And so I was wondering which band did that for you?
I think there was a whole bunch of bands, really. I mean, I think we were really lucky that we were around, got together as a band at a time where, guitar music was in a pretty healthy place. So I think we were quite heavily influenced by, what was going on in America at that time in the early 90s, particularly Nirvana, who I think did and have continued to influence pretty much everybody who picks up a guitar, I think. But bands like Rage Against the Machine and Smashing Pumpkins and that whole kind of early 90s American scene was something that we were massively into, at that age. And I think that is it's probably still stayed with us to this day. I mean, I think the band's evolved and it's taken on lots of different influences over the years, but I think the core of what started us off as a band was those types of bands.
Awesome. Well, talking about great music, so what can you tell us about the new album?
Wow. I think it's an album we're very happy with. I think, when I listen to it personally, I feel like it's kind of like a collection of all the things that I think we do really well. I think over the years we've done a lot of experimentation with various different types of music and different sounds, and we've dipped our toes into lots of different things, some of which have been more successful than others. But I think with this record, I just feel like it's very kind of cohesive in that it's just feels to me like it's got all the best bits of Muse, really. And I don't know, I'm not sure I could say that about an album for, probably since maybe Black Holes, where I felt like it had that kind of level of cohesion with it.
Yeah, it feels very Muse. I like it a lot. Like, I listened to the songs and they were awesome, and I really liked it because it was just, I had to listen to one song after the next. I just had to go through, and it was so fun. But at the same time, it seems pretty dark because you have titles like Kill or Be Killed, We're Fucking Fucked, and stuff like that. So I was wondering what's up with the dark theme, or is it like a Halloween thing?
Well, I think we're living in some pretty dark times.
True.
I think it's I know everybody talks about the pandemic and what everyone's been through in the last two and a half years. But there is no getting away from it. There's been that, and there's been a lot of other stuff that's been going on in the world that I think has affected everybody in a bad way. And I think that the fact that we've had this pandemic, which is stopped people from going to work, which has also made people sit at home and watch the news a hell of a lot more than they normally do. I think some of the more kind of extreme dark things that are happening in the world, which have been happening for a long time or bubbling under for a long time, I think all of a sudden people have become a hell of a lot more aware of them, because we had nothing else to do other than be aware of bad news, basically, that we were watching every day. So I think probably most people that have written any sort of music or created any sort of art in the last 2.5 years, I think when you look back at it in 20 or 30 years time, people will look back on it and see how influenced it was by the times. If we're still here, that is.
True. Absolutely true. Well, it's still super interesting. I agree. I feel like it's what's happening a lot in music right now. But still, is there a favorite song you have on this album that you really, really like?
Do you know what? My favorite songs change all the time, and it is literally a question that my kids ask me every single day. And I think I give them a different answer every day. But I don't know. I think I've always generally gravitated towards the more heavy stuff. So I think Kill or Be Killed, I think, is a track that particularly I really enjoy playing live. We've had that in the set for quite a while already. Won't Stand Down, again, it's to me it's anything that kind of creates that energy live where people start jumping up and down. I don't really judge a song too much until we actually go and play it live, and then it's always about the reaction to me that kind of makes me like the song more for some reason. I don't know why, but
Yeah, I can only imagine. It is great to get a response from the crowds though. And talking about playing live for us in Germany, I think for everyone all over the world pretty much, the summer was the first real concert and festival season again.
yeah.
And you guys played out here in Germany as well. And so I was wondering, was there anything that especially stood out to you this season, basically, or was there anything fun or exciting that happened?
I think the whole experience was just very, very positive. And, like I said, we've all lived through this incredibly dark time. And I think we all feel like we've had things taken away from us that we never imagined in a million years that we would have taken away from us. And, experiencing live music is one of those things. The last show that I went to see before COVID was Slipknot in the O2 I went with my son. And I didn't think in a million years that would be the last gig that I would see for 2.5 years. And it was really getting to a point where, more lockdowns were happening, things were opening up and then closing down again. And, this thing just wasn't going away. And I think people were genuinely starting to question whether anything was ever going to get back to normal again, or whether that was the new normal. We were just going to have to live with our families in our house and never go anywhere. So I think getting back into a situation whereby, firstly, it felt weird, getting on stage and looking at that many people all together in the same place. I felt like we were kind of breaking some sort of rule, because, you sort of get so used to the fact that, only 6 people are allowed to be together in the same place and you're not allowed to go within 2 meters. And it all of a sudden struck me how, 2.5 years ago, to have that many people in the same place was so normal. And then all of a sudden it didn't feel normal to have all those people together. But the reactions that we got from the crowd were just, I don't know, I just personally felt this renewed sense of enthusiasm for everything, the music, the band, playing live, the audience, everything just felt great. Crowds just seemed louder than they had been for years, and they were bouncing higher than they had done for years. And it just felt like nothing but positivity, which I think after what we'd all been through was just a really, really nice thing to have. We felt it as a band, we could see that the crowd felt it. And it was like that pretty much everywhere we went. All of the gigs there was just this overwhelming positivity in the air that was just nice to be a part of, and kind of helped to sort of put behind us some of the dark times, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I know for me, it was like breathing again, just walking on the festival grounds, basically, and just being surrounded by people. It was insane. Felt unreal, really.
Yeah, no, it was nice. It was nice.
Yeah, definitely. So, talking about your live performances, you have a really impressive setup this year again, with the huge mask and everything on stage. So I was wondering, is that your favorite setup for your stage, or was the one in the past that you really liked as well?
Do you know what? We've had so many of them, and I think that I don't know if I would necessarily say it was my favorite. I think that there's been some that we've done in the past that I've really liked, but it's always nice when you're going out and you're feeling like you're doing something new. And the last tour that we did, I think we toured that pretty much solidly for 9 or 10 months, and I know that was sort of off the back of doing Drones as well, which was a really long tour, and there was no real break in between Drones and Simulation Theory. So I think it was just quite nice for us generally just to have a little bit of time off and to come back and feel like we had this completely new set with a load of new songs. But I'm sure that in a year's time, we'll want to do something different again, and there'll be a whole bunch of different ideas. But I think in a way, it's a little simpler than what we've done in the past. There's been so many stage shows. Particularly Drones. That was a fucking headache. That was. Sorry if I'm not allowed to swear, by the way.
No, you can. It's fine.
Drones was an absolute headache. We had the drones flying around the arena, and the rehearsals we had trying to get those things working, and the amount of times that it didn't work. you know, and we had some fairly complicated visual setups with that tour as well. So I think most of that tour we spent worrying about whether everything was going to work. And I think for this tour we just decided, you know, let's not do anything too overcomplicated. You know, at the end of the day, the music is the most important thing. Now, obviously, when you play big venues, you want to have a good stage production. You want it to look great. But I think, you know, we've got a guy that works with us now who kind of helps us to oversee all the creative stuff. And, you know, for us, it was just really important to have something that kind of tied in with the music, with the lyrics, something that is just more relevant as part of the story rather than something that's just there for the sake of it, you know, which I think in the past we have probably been guilty of, you know. But I'd say on the whole, it's just that, you know, it's just quite a simple but powerful stage show that we've put together. And more importantly, nothing goes wrong with it. It works. So, you know, we don't have those moments in the middle of the show where we're all looking at each other going, what's happening? You know, this isn't supposed to happen. I think a couple of times the curtain came down early when it shouldn't have done. But other than that, it's been pretty smooth.
Well, sounds great, and it's safe and it looks great, I gotta say. So we're almost out of time. So are there any last words for your fans out here?
Well, just, you know, thanks for coming to see us in the festivals. You know, we had a great time, and we're looking forward to coming back next year. Over the summer, I think we'll be back next year. So more concerts, more news.